All right, hey everybody, welcome to the Education of a Weaponized Man podcast. We've had a little break. We've had a few things going on, so we have lost a little bit of our consistency, but we're back tonight. Thank you for joining us, sticking with us. It's Thursday night, 7:30. We try every Thursday, 7:30. We go live to try to share and educate people on the weaponization process. I had a topic all picked out for tonight. As you can see, we got Brad and Dustin with us, so the three of us back together. It's been a little bit for that summer. Lots of stuff going on, but I'm going to change the topic because I kind of titled this podcast that I've been predicting this and now it's happened, and I don't want it to happen to any more people. So I just think it's so important. So I want to kind of delve into it and talk about it. And so stick with me. Back in 30 seconds, I'm going to share with you what I've been predicting that has now happened, and we're gonna break it down. Hey everybody, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Greg LeBoeuf, and I'm sharing insights for how I went from the victim of a brutal attempted murder to weaponizing my mind and body, mastering the tool of violence so that I can protect myself and my family from violent criminal assault, and how for the past 30 years I've been helping good people just like you do the same. Welcome to the Education of a Weaponized Man podcast. Okay. So I said that I switched the topic up a little bit tonight, and really tonight's less of a direct topic and more just kind of about more of a general thing. But this is what I've been predicting. I did not that long ago. I did a podcast on it. I did a bunch of I did an article on it. I did a bunch of stuff on it, and it was talking about out of 100 men, and the gist was out of 100 men, 90 of the men are never going to do anything. They don't care about it. They're just what we call nice guys. They're good people. They're nice guys, but they're not protectors. They don't have it within them to take responsibility for their safety. They relinquish that to police or government, whatever it happens to be. So that leaves you got 10 guys left. Out of that 10, you're going to have one of those 10 is just going to go into denial. They're going to mock you. They're going to say, you guys are being paranoid. This is fucking stupid. They're just going to do everything they can to try to make the person that takes responsibility for their safety, the person that takes action and actually learns and gets skills that have survivable value so that he can protect himself and his family. They're going to do everything they can to try to mock it because, you taking actions like that shine a light on the fact that they're not. And so they don't like that. Right? It's uncomfortable for them, so they rather try to get you to conform to them. Okay, so now you got kind of these 9 guys left. And out of that, I said that, there's 7 or 8 guys out of that 9 that are going to have this willingness and this courage, meaning that if something happens, right, they think, if something happened to my family, if somebody tried to fucking, threaten me and my family, again, we're not talking about a fight. We're talking about asocial violence, facing grievous bodily harm or death, that they're like, they have the willingness and they have the courage, but here's the problem. They have no fucking training. And when you have no fucking training, there's just no such thing as tough anymore. When you're talking about violent criminals, I don't give a fuck if you're tough. Tough is not enough. And so these really good men, hardworking men, they're great providers. They have this willingness, they have this courage, and they have this image in their mind of what they think they can do, what they think they're going to do. And so what I said was that what you're going to have is you're going to have more of these 7 or 8 really good men who find themselves in very bad situations, whether it's them directly or it's somebody else, and they're going to either step in and want to render aid, or they're going to, find themselves in a place where they have a need to defend themselves, their family. And here's what's going to happen. They're going to get murdered. They're going to fucking die because they don't have the training. And when you don't have the training, it is far less likely that you become a life-saving force in a dark, critical moment because there's no such fucking thing as tough anymore. Right? It's that simple. Like there's trained and there's untrained. Okay, and so just to finish it, then you have 1 or 2 out of the remaining 9 guys that will actually recognize, they go, listen, I have the willingness, I have the courage, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I just don't know what I'm fucking doing. I have an idea of what I think I would do. I know I would do something, but something's not enough. Like they just get, there's a gap there. And so they fucking seek out training. They're not, that doesn't impact their ego. It doesn't make them less of a man. It's just, they go, fuck, I don't know what the fuck to do. And I want to know what to do. I don't want to just know what to do. I want to know how to, I don't want to just survive this shit. I want to know how to fucking thrive in it. So they seek out training. And then those people become life-saving forces in dark critical moments. The odds are far higher that they can achieve that. But let's go back to these 7 or 8 really good men. Here's why this pisses me off, and I think you can get where I'm going to. In the last few weeks, there's been murders. One was a father of 7, right? A father of 7 who fled the fucking Congo because of war. And, he fled to Canada, fled to Edmonton, because it was safer for him and his family. And he just knew, if I stay here, the chances of us being murdered, hurt, injured, it's far too high. So he flees here. He's at an LRT station, and there's so many little mixed reports on this. The facts are he was stabbed to death in a random attack by an individual with an extensive criminal fucking record, who was out on bail, who was supposed to be under 24-hour house surveillance, like house arrest, was not supposed to be out mixing the public. Not only was he not housed, he was living on the streets, transient, living in a fucking tent down by the LRT station. And I've heard different reports, but that's the facts right there, okay? So we've been talking about the fact that the system's fucking broken. Like, our bail reform is absolutely fucking destroyed. We have more and more repeat violent offenders out on the street. And so let's do the math. But my prediction was that you're going to start to see more and more news reports coming out over the next few months where you have these men that are good men, really fucking good men. I mean, clearly this guy had 7 kids. I mean, his kids adored him. He did everything for his kids. Meaning what? To me, a massive part of the definition of what it is to be a man is to be a provider, which clearly this guy was. You got 7 kids. You work. You got your kids out of a fucking country where, the future that they were facing was violence and not a lot of opportunities. I mean, so this guy was an absolute provider. He was a gentle, caring, loving guy, but he clearly also had this willingness. I've heard reports that during this, it was an altercation with somebody else, and he tried to intervene, or maybe it was just to de-escalate it. And it's still, that's a little bit unsubstantiated, because all of a sudden now they're not sharing the details of what happened, probably because of ongoing investigation. Although they do have an individual but what I'm getting at is a good man, a good provider, 7 kids, loving husband, has a wife. He goes to take the LRT to go visit a friend, something he's done many times before, and his oldest son was with him. And 90 minutes later, they get a phone call saying your father's dead. And he said he went ballistic. He couldn't wrap his head around it. So, I mean, it's like there's so many things in this, but it's like, this is what's happening. We have to look at what is going on right now, and our justice system is flawed. There's always bad people on the streets. But our justice system, if you got to look at it and recognize that more and more violent repeat offenders are out on our streets. And it doesn't matter what they're supposed to be. It doesn't matter. This guy was supposed to be under 24-hour, house arrests and surveillance. Not. Hadn't been for a long time. And so he's free to do whatever he is going to do, and this becomes the result of this. Now, another incident that happened was 2 different couples went to the Nickelback concert, and after the concert, the 2 of them were on scooters, riding by on scooters, and they get fucking clotheslined off the scooters by a group of people. Her fucking leg is almost severed in an assault. And then just, within minutes and a few blocks later, another couple's assaulted. Like violently assaulted. And this is just, you imagine all the people coming out of a concert and this, and, it's probably a little bit later at night, but, how many people? And I correct me if I'm wrong, but I can't remember if the Nickelback was a weekend or not. Probably was, but I thought it was a Sunday or Monday, whatever night. Doesn't really matter. So we're having, again, more really good people outliving their lives, and they're just crossing the paths of violent individuals who don't give a fuck. So there's a lot of people that, again, say, oh, well, I don't hang out in these certain areas. I don't associate with people like that. I mind my own business, blah, 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 blah. These people are just living their fucking lives. And so I thought it's so important, the mayor of Edmonton is like, he comes out with a press release like, the system's failing, like we need to take immediate action to have some sort of bail reform, because Edmonton's being hit with this random violent, crimes are there's like a surge of this going on. And so for me, it's like, I know that a lot of people that would listen to this have a willingness and have the courage to do something. But I know for fact that a lot of people that listen to this and consume podcasts like this, information like this, have I don't want to say a survivalist mindset, but they have a weaponized mindset. They have they really think about like, yeah, this is my responsibility. My family's safety is my responsibility. But yet they're not taking the necessary actions. Just the other day, I was shared this story with you guys not that long ago, but I trained out of my house and I was out front and I'm, warming up and staging and preparing the train. And this guy walks by, a neighbor from a couple blocks over, and, he's trying to engage, but he's like, oh, like I see you guys out here all the time training, but like, why would I ever need that? And he's got this big 145-pound bull mastiff. But it's like, I got a 145-pound bull mastiff, and the dog is sitting there wagging his tail, wanting to lick all over my face. Like, this was not a trained guard dog. This was just a big fucking dog. Do you know what I mean? And he's like, yeah, who in their right mind would ring my doorbell and not run away? And then, anyways, and my wife's always telling me I should do this, but why when I got this big old dog? And then just kind of walks away. And it's like, oh, yeah. And I share that just because that's kind of what I think we need to talk about tonight. And I could, I could write a list. I've got a big old fucking dog. They break into my house. I got 65 guns in my house. And it's like, yet we're having a conversation out in a parking lot 15 miles from your house. Who gives a fuck if you got I don't care if you got 665 guns in your house. What good are they to you in your home? Like, it's this thing again where there's these good men that have willingness and have interest and understand the need to take responsibility are just littered with fucking excuses. I don't I've got 4 or 5 guys that are like, oh yeah, I need this, I want this, super, super busy right now. I think in the fall, I think early next year, like it's just these fucking litany of excuses. And so tonight for me, it was more just important, to talk about, what do we really have to do? What really has to happen for men to wake the fuck up before, it's your wife or your kid that gets that call 90 minutes after you left the fucking house. Right? So I know you guys, again, we never talk about what we're going to talk about, but I don't know. How do you guys feel about that? I have not been tracking the news. I've had a lot of other stuff going on in my life, so normally I'm tracking certain things. This was news to me. I just kind of found out about it yesterday, and I just thought, again, it's gut-wrenching. Yeah. And I just can't imagine those 7 kids. Like, all of it, it's gut-wrenching. So I don't know. How does this sit with you guys?
I'll just, like, how you ended the kind of beginning and intro of, like, what's it going to take for men to do something. And I think one of the biggest problems is, like, yeah, let's say that you have those 7, 8 guys that they're going to do something, but they don't know what the fuck, right? And I think at the end of the day, and this is my opinion, is like, they don't own the problem. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, they may know that there's a problem out there. They may conceptualize a solution to that problem. But I think they don't own the problem, right? Yeah. Because if you own the problem, you take action, right? And it's unfortunate that, yes, people get busy, people do all these things, but what's it going to take for them to own the problem? How many people have we had that have either been assaulted, had their loved ones assaulted, or something of a serious nature where now they own the fucking problem, but that was something that was put onto them, if that makes sense. Like, yeah. That was a circumstance that they had to live through now, and now they own the problem, even knowing that they knew that the problem existed before. They just didn't own it enough. They just didn't believe that it was a necessary problem for them to have a solution for. And it's unfortunate that people get murdered, people get raped, people get assaulted, and then we're like, oh, I need to own this problem. Sometimes that's too fucking late. You may not have the opportunity, right? Because you're just too far into, I'll own it later.
Yeah. Okay. Dustin.
Yeah, a lot of this might end up just sounding a lot like what Brad said in my own words, but because I agree with everything he said. But sitting here listening to you tell that story, because I just found out about it now. I hadn't heard about that gentleman at the LRT. And, we talk a lot on here about like denial and just how so many people are living in denial and just like, that stuff never happens. And, then something like this does happen and it happens in your own city. And I think, certain people will be like, oh, geez, like that's terrible. And like maybe for a fleeting moment be like, oh, that could have been me. But then so quickly, it's like that next level of denial kicks in, or the next layer of denial kicks in, where it's like, yeah, but even if they don't like actually say it consciously, but subconsciously, there's like, what are the odds it's going to happen to me? And so as you were talking, I was sitting here thinking, like, yeah, like what is it going to take? Like, okay, there was a murder at the LRT. I'm assuming in the middle of the day, probably, or evening. It wasn't like it was 3 a.m. I'm guessing,
No. Yeah,
right?
it wasn't. No, yeah.
And it's like, so, okay, so that can be anybody. That can happen to anyone. It's like, and yet that's not enough. You know what I mean? Like, what's it going to take? It's going to take more than that. And that's kind of a terrifying thought, because here you have, like you said, a dad of 7, a husband, a friend, like all these things, a good man. And he's gone and their lives are forever changed. And it's like, and that unfortunately is going to have such a small impact on the rest of the city and so on. And it's like, well, that's so sad, because then it's like, well, things don't even get better because of his sacrifice. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, it sort of feels like I'm sitting here thinking about it. I'm just like, man, I kind of feel like the majority of people, like until it's happening every single day and people are literally like scared to go to work, I feel like, well, that's when most people might start to do something.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh my God, like that's crazy to think that that's what it would take to motivate somebody. But I feel it's like that in a way. That's what it is. Like, I don't know.
No, yeah, I get it. I think, because obviously I agree with everything you guys just said, and I think that, again, I want this to have value. Like, how can we change someone's perception tonight, and maybe get them to take an action that will really add some survivable value to their lives and the safety and security of their families and stuff. And so, what Brad had said, and Dustin, what you echoed, was about like, okay, listen. People are going to take actions like, they own the problem, and maybe they do own the problem in this, but here's kind of where I think this is interesting, right? Because people, those 7 or 8 kind of guys, because remember, 90% of the people are going to forfeit their security to somebody else. You're not going to change those people. Okay. So I'm not talking to those 90. Okay. I'm talking to really the 9, because 1 out of that 100 people overall, he's just going to go and he's just going to try to change you to be with him so that he doesn't feel like the outcast. And unfortunately, that's kind of like the 90. You know what I mean? So these 8, 9 people that have willingness, that see the problem, but how do we actually assess our actions? Because that guy that I gave as an example, that he legitimately believes the fact that he owns a 145-pound bull mastiff, he believes that is his safety. But he said it himself, like, who's going to ring my doorbell? So in his brain, he went right to like, I'm safe in my home.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't take the bull mastiff with you into the grocery store, to the movie theater, to your office, not consistently. You know what I mean? If at all. But so he took an action. And he needed to talk to me to tell me that he was like, hey, I see you guys out here training. What it really was my wife sees you guys out here training. And she tells me every time, you should do something like that. His wife is telling him, you should do something like that so that our family has more safety and security. He needed to approach me to say, why would I ever do this? I've done this, honey. We have a 145-pound bull. You get what I mean? Like, that's how he saved face. That's how he because remember, denial, rationalization, justification, minimization, excuse making, or flat out refusal. He was rationalized, but he needed to rationalize and justify to me. So I guarantee he went home and told his wife, yeah, I talked to that guy, but he agreed. Like, I got this big old fucking dog. And it's like, no, I didn't agree. But like, the conversation, I'm sure, went very different in his head. And I've had, and that's just an example of, okay, I took my action. My action is I have this big dog. Is your dog trained? No, he's a big old fluffy fucker, you know, but he's going to scare people away. Oh, so it's a total and complete fucking bluff. Not, who knows? The dog may bite, may not. The point is it trained? So we're back to, again, there's no such thing as tough anymore. There's trained and there's untrained. Is your dog trained? Is he a trained certified guard dog? No. Okay, so you're just hoping that the dog has some willingness and some courage, which he probably would, but you get my point. So how do we assess our actions? So the guy that says, well, I went out and I bought firearms. We know lots of guys that go and say, well, yeah, when this was happening, when that was happening, the pandemic, blah, 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 gun sales go through the roof. I've got over 20,000 rounds of ammunition, like some crazy number, some crazy amount of guns. And there is a scenario that is within the realm of, like low probability, flirting with being possible, okay? Because anything's possible, but what's probable? There is a scenario where having firearms and ammunition in your home is absolutely a viable strategy tactic, and those are viable tools, 100%. We live in Canada. The times that guys have threatened me, and I mean threatened, I don't mean like in serious, but the times that they find out what I do at a party or whatever, and people are talking to me, or this and that, or even people that call me, and then all of a sudden they go, yeah, well, I don't really have that skill set, or I don't do that, but I got 15 different handguns and 35 different this, and so many rounds of ammunition, and they're always a million miles away from their shit. And I had the one guy, hey, you might think you're tough, but I'd fucking put 20 bullets in you before you even got halfway across the floor. And I was like, well, that's interesting. Where's your gun? Because I'm only 15 feet away from you, and your guns are about a fucking million miles. They might as well be in a fucking Mars. I will get to you before you even can spell out the name of half your guns. I mean, it's ridiculous. But yet that in his mind, so he took an action, but we have to assess the actions. And I'll just throw this out there because I'm just going to shortcut this. I think the best way to assess the actions so that we don't get into this, guys, I have guns, I bought a dog, I have reinforced windows, I have bulletproof plating on my car, I carry pepper spray, I blah, 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 blah. I know how to mind my own business. Oh, I'm a talker. I'm the best salesman in our company. I can talk my way out of anything. These are all actions that guys use to rationalize and justify that little tiny scenario, that one type, small, minute chance where that happens and that skill set saves you. They talk like that's every scenario in the world. Like that's 99. That'll handle 99% of all encounters I might get into, and that's just wrong. So here's what I want to put forward today. If you're listening to this, you don't have to, forget weighing. You're assessing your decisions. Have you trained? Have you got training? I mean, it's a skill set. Close quarter combat, ground fighting, weapons, mass attack, long range. You have to have training, period. Right? Kicking, punching, trapping, ground, weapons, and mass attack. And they can't be sport-based. They have to be violence-based. They have to be based off the study of criminality, not sport or competition. Period. So you have to be able to run that gamut. So weapons, we said weapons. So yeah, training firearms, training edged and impact. Okay? You have to understand what happens if 2 or 3 guys punch, all this shit. Like, you have to have training. And for most people, if you ask, have you done a course? Have you done any training? Are you perpetually training? Because you don't have to be into it lifestyle, right? Have you done a fundamental course like the Weaponized 16, where you've done 16 hours where you lay a foundation? It's like BUD/S training for men. It's like, we're going to weaponize you in this Weaponized 16 program. Go to boot camp. It's boot camp regarding violence. Have you done that? No, I haven't done that. Have you done the equivalent of that? Have you done anything like that? No. And sport programs or martial art programs where it's predicated off fighting and competition don't qualify. They just don't qualify. They're just not the same. It's the wrong tool for the job, period. Okay, so you have to have training. Like, that should be it. Just like that should be your certification. Now, all the other stuff, you want the dog? Get the fucking dog. But send it. The dog needs training. You want to buy a gun? Get a gun. Go get the training. Like, you want to, I got a bat under the bed. I keep a bat. Do you have any fucking training? No. You have to have training. If you don't have training, or you don't routinely recert your training, if you don't have training integrated into your life where you are continuously growing and honing and developing and sharpening your skills, you are failing. Then you are not prepared. You cannot be prepared. You are not prepared. You have hope. You have hope that what you think you will do, what you think the situation will be like, you have the hope that everything will go according to plan. And I think everybody at this point can quote Mike Tyson. Everybody's got to get a plan till they get hit with the truth. Right? Really, it's till they get punched in the fucking mouth. Then your plan goes out the window. So I don't know what you guys think about that, but it's like at some point, you just have to tell people, like when you're talking, oh, I got my dog, I got my guns. Have you trained? Do you have any training? No, do you have any fucking training? There's no such thing as tough. There's trained and there's untrained. Period. That's the end of it. Get the training, or you don't have what you think you have. I don't know. How does that sit with you guys?
Yeah, it brings you back to hardware versus software. And, I know we've talked about that before, but it's like, you still got to do it. There's no purchase in the world that you're going to make. Gun, dog, knife, any baseball bat, that is going to, circumvent the need to actually figure out how to do it and put in the work. You got to put in the work, if you want the skill set to protect your family, it's going to take some effort. You got to put the effort in. Or you can't just go buy something and be like, oh yeah, now I don't have to put the effort in. No, you're just as useless as you were before. Sorry. Yeah. You got to put the effort in. It's like, but that's violence. It's also with everything else in life. You want something, you got to put the effort in. You own a problem, you got to put the effort in.
Yeah. Just 100%. I don't know, Dustin, you're just going to be echoing, I'm sure, but.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with what you guys are saying, and yeah, it literally is an echo in the form of an analogy, of course.
Perfect.
But I was just thinking of my son, like, he recently got his learner's license, and it's like, okay, well, compare that to getting ready for violence. Like, he got his learners. I don't just wait 2 years and be like, yep, bought you that car, get out there, get going. Like, you can drive now, right?
Yeah.
You have your license. You're 16. No, it's like you're gonna spend the next 2 years doing what Brad just said, putting in the work. Get the training, figure it out. Do you know what I mean? Go with someone who's better than you, who knows more than you, who mentors you, whether that's me or your grandpa or your driver's training courses, whatever it is. But it's like, go get the training. I think drivings are just one very of many possible examples, but it's like, you don't do driving without training.
Yeah.
Why? You might get killed or you might kill someone. Do you know what 100%. I mean?
100%.
Why would it be any difference for violence?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And like I said, there's a million analogies. Swimming is another great one. Do you know what I mean? You don't just throw a 4-year-old in the deep end and be like, man, better figure that out. Yeah. You're in it now. Like, get going. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So
100%.
Yeah.
And now, and I'm going to say this because exactly the second you said that and you used the driving analogy, I'll circle back, but the second you use the swimming analogy, you'd have men listening to this and go, that's how I fucking learned how to swim. Yeah, my fucking dad threw me in the fucking deep end, but my dad threw me in the fucking river. And here's the thing. The story's always way better than the fucking reality. Some guy out there right now is sitting at 6 and go, that's how I fucking learned to do it. I'm going to ask you 2 questions, you fat fuck. How good a swimmer are you today? You're horrible, right? And I know you're fat and I know you're out of shape because you don't fucking swim, but you think you can fucking swim. And that's not really what fucking happened. You really think your dad threw you in a fucking fast-moving current? You'd be fucking dead, you dumb fuck. Like, it pisses me off. And there's a certain point when you got to interrupt people's pattern of bullshit. Stop talking, and that's what everyone wants to turn to. That's how I learned to do it. I learned how to drive on the fucking farm. Nobody taught me. I was forced in the driver's seat, and you probably sucked.
Yeah, but
and you're lucky that you didn't work in the city. Go ahead, Brad.
You were on a field.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say.
But you weren't on the fucking road.
No, and if you were on the fucking road, you were an idiot. And you probably could have fucking killed somebody. You're just fucking lucky you didn't kill someone else. And I sure you wreck cars. Like, this is not how people fucking learn. And if you are the fucking chosen messiah of driving, and at fucking 13 years old you got put behind the wheel and you were fucking Mario Andretti with no fucking problems, then you're a fucking goddamn messiah. Everybody should worship you and suck your dick all day long. You're the greatest. That's the end of story. Unfortunately, I'm not a messiah. Most people I know are not messiahs. We're not naturally fucking gifted, and that's the end of it. And it's like, just fucking men, shut the fuck up. Stop talking so much bullshit and just fucking train. And just train. And yes, we're talking about violence. So people be like, oh yeah, you get really upset. Yeah, because we're talking about people's fucking lives. We're not talking about sport. I'm not talking about, hey, you should come in, man. It's so great for you and you're going to get the discipline and stay conditioned and you could do this in your 50s and you're going to get all these belts. That's just filler bullshit. And anybody that's like, oh, this why are you getting so intense? Because this is people's lives. And that comes back to what Brad said. People don't own the fucking problem. But you don't get the phone call from people who have been affected by violence, who have lost a family member due to violence, being murdered, and you don't understand, you really don't fucking understand the crater of devastation, the toxic, corrosive, and septic fucking disease that violence is. Otherwise, you'd get fucking pissed off too. And I'll add this in there. I'm so passionate about this. I said, the 90 men you're never going to change them. I don't give a fuck about them. They don't irritate me. They don't bother me. They're great people. They're like sheep. Great fucking people. But they're sheep. Out of, you get those 7 or 8 guys, they are sheepdogs. Meaning they want to protect the flock, their family, other innocent people. They have the willingness and the courage. Do you know how rare that is? And so if you lose even one good man who was willing and has the courage and he's murdered because he doesn't have the training, because his 145-pound bull mastiff wasn't fucking there, because he can't carry concealed carry and he can't access his 655 fucking guns. You get what, get some fucking training and you would have had far greater odds of not only surviving but saving other people's lives, including your own or your families. That's just the simple fucking math of this. And so what do you got to do to interrupt people's pattern? And I'll add, I'm going to throw this in there because here's the 2 biggest fucking bullshit reasons people don't fucking train. First, I said I got 4 or 5 really good guys. I'm too fucking busy. Good. Let me ask you this. Do you think that you're ever going to be busy again in life? Is there ever going to be another time where you're as busy as you are today? Oh yeah, probably life's busy like that. Okay, think for a fucking second. Maybe it's really good that you learn to train while you're fucking busy. You learn to prioritize and time manage. And if you can train when you're in busy parts of your life, yet you can still get the fucking skill sets because after is too fucking late. So when you prioritize and you learn to time manage and prioritize and value the training, then when shit is slow, it's fucking effortless for you. You're going to up your training, if anything. And when life cycles back and you get busy again, you won't fucking quit. Like all the fat people who are trying to lose weight, right? And I say fat, not just physical, I mean mentally fat people who have no willpower, who have no fucking discipline, who say they want to be healthier, right? But they can't do it. Oh, I'm too busy. It's fucking excuses. When you are busy is the best time to fucking start, period, bar fucking none. The second thing, so that's time. The second thing is fucking money. Oh, money's so tight right now. Money's so tight. Money is going to get fucking spent. It's a renewable resource. Money comes and money goes. You're going to spend money. You have the money. And here's the better part. Good. Because here's something I've seen over 30 years. When people legitimately go, dude, that's expensive. And I say, you're fucking right, it's expensive. And it's like, I don't have the money right now. No, lots of people don't. But good. What do you mean? Because the guys that truly go, fuck, I have a guy right now. He's a great guy, 4 fucking kids. He works a good job, salary, but I mean, they're like, everything is budgeted month to month. Yet within 3 days of talking about this, he valued this so much because he had a couple incidents, luckily nothing serious, but he saw what the potential was and realized, this terrifies me. I have no skill sets. And guess what? This guy found the money. How? Because they tweak things. I'm not gonna fuck Starbucks every day. I'm not going out to this movie this month. I'm gonna so this guy's, and here's what I want to share with you. When people really kind of don't have the money to just drop all that money in one shot, they fucking value it. And when they show up with a level of fucking seriousness. They show up to fucking squeeze every drop of value out of the training. And guess what happens? They get way fucking better. than the guy who blows in or breezes through and drops a wad of fucking cash because he doesn't give a fuck. He can pay for this and he's still going on his 3 vacations a year. He can pay for that and he's still driving his brand new BMW. They don't give a fuck. Not the same way. Now, that's not all of them, right? Lots of guys that have lots of money, they do value it. But I'm giving you an analogy, right? Because here's the thing. Guys that have the money and that can afford it easily, some of them really do value it. A lot of them, they don't. Because to them, it's just another thing that they can purchase. And they think that spending the money equals the effort in. And it's like, it doesn't. The guys that really go, I don't have the money. Like, I have to really figure out a budget for this. I have to save a bit for this. I have to really sacrifice for this. All of them value it. Not a one doesn't value it. So if you think you don't have the time, when you're busy, that's the best fucking time to start. And too late, and after is too fucking late. And the second thing when it comes to fucking money, if you don't have the money, good. Because you're going to get so much more of this. You're going to get fucking 10 times better, 10 times quicker, because you're going to have to actually value this and really be resourceful and come up with the cash and make that investment. That's what I did. I was fucking 19 years old. Spent over $300,000 in training. You think at 19 years old I had that kind of money? Now I didn't drop that all at once. I was over a decade, but every time I was going down it was $5,000 to $10,000 Canadian. I didn't have that fucking money. I got resourceful. I fucking sold everything that I fucking had. I mean, I did everything and I never missed a training date. I don't care what I had to do. Beg, borrow, I don't give a fuck. I was resourceful and I always came up with the money. And it cost me. I sacrificed in other areas. I wasn't going out for dinners with my friends and drinking at the bars. I wasn't buying the brand new cars and driving the cars they were. I didn't have the clothes they had. You guys knew me. I had a pair of sweatpants and I used a shoestring for a fucking belt. But, and I won't even get into how I fucking bathed myself. A farmer's cattle trough warmer. It takes about 2 hours to heat up a full-size bathtub, but you can get in there and have a hell of a nice bath. I didn't have hot water. Fuck hot water. Hot water's for those people that don't want to train. You know what I mean? Like, it comes with sacrifice, but look at the value I got out of it. I got better. I got good because it fucking mattered to me. So I wanted to throw that out there because, again, we're saying you got to fucking train, and people will put up excuses. Assess your actions. At the end of the day, I don't care what other actions you're taking. Great, good, take them. Trained or untrained. Get the training. Then the next 2 big barriers are going to be, well, I got to talk to my wife. I don't know. The money is kind of expensive. Well, I've already covered that. And I'm super big. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. We'll write it on your tombstone or that of your kids or wife. He was going to do it. Sure wish he got around to it. This is not like your to-do list of fucking, I got to clean the eaves troughs. I got to clear out the garage. And I just haven't done it yet. If you fucking pass away from a heart attack and the garage or the eaves trough is still dirty, it's not that big a deal. But violence is a whole different thing. So, I don't know. Any thoughts you guys want to throw down range on those or any other excuses that you guys are aware of?
Not for me, no. I think you kind of covered most of them. So.
Yeah. I always get in these moods. I get in these rants because it bothers me every time I hear about this shit. And it's so preventable. You know what I mean? And I mean that, and it's not from the, it's just, you got these good people that just didn't know. And the little minuscule of knowledge that it would have taken to change that situation, for him to still be alive. Now, maybe he doesn't get off scot-free. Go ahead, Dustin.
I was just going to say, I think that's a good point, is that maybe a lot of people don't realize, like, it doesn't necessarily take Superman to come out on top in a violent encounter. You know what I mean? And a lot of times it's not even physical. It might be something mental, or it might be something, you know what I mean? Like, it's stuff that comes up before it even becomes a violent situation.
Threat assessment, recognizing the pins.
Exactly, because you have training, you can avoid the whole thing or circumvent the whole thing, or at least intercept it earlier, which puts the odds in your favor. Like, so many ways. So yeah, I think you don't have to be the best or the greatest or any of that stuff for it to make a difference.
It takes very little. It takes very little to really to really, really make somebody formidable when it comes to surviving violence. And that's why we say 0 to formidable. That's the first step. That's what we want for people, is to go from zero to formidable, and it's not what people think. It's not. You're not training to become a pro fighter, which is also why the threat assessment, the pins, the pre-incident indicators, learning all that stuff, they just don't have that in sport or competition-based programs. It's not part of it. They don't need it. It's irrelevant. And yet that is some of the most important shit to boxing the threat. Like, it's just, it's
Yeah,
again,
that's the good
infuriating.
news. The good news is weaponizing is built upon the fact that we already assume you aren't that person, can't be that person, will never become that person.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
You don't need to be.
Yeah, welcome. This is what we're built for. You know, oh, you're
Yeah.
smaller, weaker, unathletic. You know, no training,
Perfect.
never played a perfect. Like
Oh,
literally
and you're
This was
perfect.
designed for you.
Even better.
Yeah.
Yeah, even better because you're meeting the optics of what these predators are looking for because they can tell that you're not the biggest, the strongest, the fastest, the most athletic. Probably haven't played combat sports or whatever it is, contact sports and stuff. And it's like, yeah, like, and you're with your kids and your wife and this, and you look like just this average guy on his way to work or home or whatever. You look like the father of 7 kids who's off to visit his friend. That's what you look like, and therefore you are my target. And therefore, this is the result that often happens. And of course, he's charged and he'll be back out in the street. You know what I mean? Like it's just, even though he's charged with 3 more counts of breaching bail, and he'll still be out. They'll still turn him back out. So maybe not, let's hope, but you know what I mean. Anyways. Okay, I think we're just going to wrap here for tonight, guys. I don't know, like, I know for a lot of people listening to this, they do train, and if you are the type of individual that is training and you've done it, then don't ever stop. Our saying around here is you're only as good as the last time you trained, right? And that's just because that's a constant reminder that I don't care what we've done. I don't care that I've been doing it 30 years. There's no certificate. There's no belts. There is what? You're only as good as the last time you trained. So today you train. Tomorrow you train. The next day you train. That's what drives you, is just to wake up and be like, what did I do today? What did I do that had added value, survivable value to my life? You know what I mean? Like, and some of it's physical, some of it's mental, but every day you're doing something. Some of the days it's all of it, but you're doing it consistently, compounding that value every single day. So if you're the guy that does that or the gal that does that, then don't ever stop that. You might, again, most people are never going to see what you're building. They're never going to fully understand how it values your life and how it fortifies the type of human being that you are. But weaponized people are a different breed. We've been doing this long enough. When you meet one, there's a different scent. There's a different way of speaking, a different way of thinking, a different way of viewing the world. And, it's like we recognize that in each other, right? Sheepdogs recognize sheepdogs. And then they recognize the wannabes, and they recognize the wolves, and they recognize the sheep. It's okay to be who you are. But if you're a sheepdog or that's within you, train, okay? For those of you that love this mindset but do not train. Stop making excuses. All right, we just never know when that 90-minute phone call is going to come. You're 90 minutes away from, your family finding out or your friends finding out they're never going to see you again. That's, that alone should be motivation to just fucking do something. Do some training, okay? All right, guys, that's it. Next week we will be back. We'll delve it deep into. I have 3 or 4 really, really cool topics. I can't wait to break down with you guys. So we're looking forward to it. We'll be back on our consistency here as we move through summer and just really, again, delivering these podcasts to you every single week. It's important to us. We love doing it. We just appreciate everybody. Please, guys, like, share, comment. Obviously, as always, that's how we grow this. But I'm going to end it this way. I say this all the time. Man, just stay fucking safe. Stay weaponized. No one's coming to save you. Stop waiting for Superman. Stay safe, stay weaponized, and we'll chat again soon, everybody. Good night.